A thriller on CBS. USC and Penn State, 3 minutes to go, down 7. Drew Aller swings it to Nick Singleton, wide open, and basically walks in for the game-tying touchdown, and that forces overtime. This after back-to-back fourth down conversions by the Nittany Lions. So we go to overtime. Drew Aller has thrown 3 picks in this game, the pride of Medina. And then it's Ryan Barker on for the field goal, and Penn State wins it in overtime, 33-30. USC missed its field goal. They got the ball first in overtime, and Penn State outscores USC 27-10 in the second half in overtime. Tale of two halves. Get that ready. 33-30 is the final in overtime. How about our guy Tyler Warren? I don't think Pat Freiermuth put up these numbers, but he looks like Pat Freiermuth. I mean, my gosh, this senior tight end, 17 catches on 20 targets for 224 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. And that's not all he did. He snapped the football in this game. He had a rushing attempt, and he had a passing attempt. The kid does it all, and Penn State survives on the road, improving to 6-0 as they earn their first overtime win in some 6 years. This Big Ten on CBS postgame report is presented by Belfour Property Restoration, here with two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden and CBS Sports college football writer Richard Johnson. BMAC, this was a tale of two halves for Drew Aller and Penn State, and they really came to play there. That defense by Tom Allen really standing strong in the second half.
This was a great game for Penn State. Of course, coming out with a win is huge, but this was their first legit piece of adversity for pretty much 4 quarters of this ball game. We really didn't see any issues with Drew Aller up until this moment in this game against SC. Everything was peachy creamy, to say the least. And then adversity hit. We all wanted to see exactly how would Penn State respond. Will we see the same things we witnessed in years past, a letdown for their fan base and for their team? No, they were battle tested. They made the sound adjustments, and they came out firing on all cylinders in the second half, led by Drew Aller. And I love what I'm seeing from Drew Aller, because usually some quarterbacks, when things are not going their way, they kind of go into the tank. No, Drew Aller's like, you know what? I messed up. I played horrible football in the half. I'm going to lead this team to the promised land in the second half, not to mention the defense making timely stops to get the necessary possessions for their offense to cash in. And kudos, they were able to cash in. I know their fan base, Penn State-wise, they're hollering, they're jumping, because oftentimes we've seen Penn State do what in years past? Squander these moments.
Peaches and cream like the creamery in State College. I like what you did there, B-Mac. How about some ice cream?
I thought it was Peachy Keen was the line.
How about some ice cream on the set for us?
You guys are making up your own catchphrases. I love it. Right
That sounds good, though. Peachy cream.
No, let's go. I like it.
Penn State in this game, to me, is fascinating, because that Penn State offense, there is just so much going on with that offense. You got to figure out where Tyler Warren is lined up. But sometimes he's snapping the ball, like Hakeem just said. It's incredible the different formations that they have and the ways they get their guys open and the way they make things easy on quarterback Drew Aller. Drew Aller comes into this game with 2 interceptions in his whole career, and he leaves with 5 because he threw 3 in this game. Penn State's offense, I think, is sufficiently different than last year in that they are generating explosive plays. They're not really throwing the ball further down the field than they did last year. It was a big talking point last year that they weren't going deep. Well, they're still not. But when you're getting the production, like you're getting out of Tyler Warren in this game, tied an FBS record with 17 catches. Believe he had 20 targets when all was said and done. I mean, he was everything with this offense. 42 attempts total for Drew Aller, and 20 of them went to Tyler Warren. So, look, it's incredible that Penn State was able to get this victory, because I do think this is a game that Penn State typically does not win, and it's huge for them to go west and come back with a dub.
They were down 20-6 at halftime. Penn State, possession-wise, in the first half, field goal, punt, interception, punt, field goal, and they end up outscoring USC 27-10 in the second half and overtime as they rally back on the road. And let's get back out to the site in Los Angeles. Welcome in the lead voice of CBS Sports college football, Gary Danielson. Gary, what was different for Penn State in the second half?
Wow, that's a good question. I just think just like guts, you know. I mean, when James Franklin hired Andy Kotelnicki, he wanted more explosive plays. Well, to do that, you're going to put the ball in harm's way a few times. And I think the way Drew Aller said, all right, that is tough to do. When you've been known for a guy that doesn't turn it over, and now you have one of those games, and he comes back and goes to the coach, put the ball in my hands, that's how you win championships with leaders like that.
Yeah, it's nice to have a guy named Tyler Warren who does everything, as you noted. He's throwing the ball, running the ball, snap the ball, he's catching the ball. 17 catches on 20 targets. He ties a record for receptions by a tight end. And this is incredible what this kid did. I mean, I know you played with a lot of talented players in your day, but to have a guy like him on your team, what does that mean?
I played with the great Ozzie Newsome.
You did?
That's a pretty good football player right there. But when you have a guy that creates a pressure point like that, I mean, I wonder if the guy's exhausted. He probably didn't take off 3 plays the whole football game. And as you explained, he lined up everywhere. I mean, just think about even practicing all those formations, all the motions, knowing where you are, and they freed him up so many times for so many easy throws. But, you know, I thought USC made a nice adjustment. They said, let's just put a guy on him. I mean, why try to figure out where he is? Let's put somebody on him. But he still was able to get the football. Really, really fun game. And as you said, prior to when I went on, you know, this is a game that Penn State has kicked away in the past. And to win championships, you're going to have a couple of these, and this was a big one for Penn State.
Tyler Warren, have a day, kid. And the question coming in, Gary, was, is Penn State a contender or are they a pretender? And for the first half, they really looked that way. What did you learn about James Franklin's squad here as they go west and get a huge win in overtime?
Well, I think James Franklin also showed something. There were 2 or 3 times that I was going, man, that's a big gamble for a call, especially that 4th down, the first 4th down call. I mean, there's 5 or 6 minutes left in the game. You give the ball back to USC there, that would be a tough one to overcome. So, yeah, he rolled the dice. Drew Aller completed the passes, and then Miller Moss, who had been so accurate all game, has the easy square into the tallest receiver for USC, doesn't get it, interception late. It just kind of all broke USC's way, Penn State's way.
And Penn State now 6-0, an impressive win as they come back in the second half. Gary Danielson chronicling it for us on CBS. Gary, thank you, appreciate it.
You got it, thanks guys.
Always great to spend a few minutes with Gary post-game. And how about Penn State on the road as a top 5 team? They came in having lost each of their past 3 road games as a top 5 team. Lost each of those by 5 points or less. Well, they win by 3 in this one. Snap that slide as they go on the road and beat USC 33-30 in overtime on CBS. Coming up, much more ahead from Los Angeles. Plus, we'll talk a little Red River rivalry as well. We're back here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Belfour. Keep it locked. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Belfour. Here's how it ended between Penn State and USC. Ryan Barker on from 36 yards out. It's up and it's good. And walk it off for the Nittany Lions and walk on to the bus, and then the team plan, then head on back to Happy Valley, where they are going to be happy all the way home. Time now for the Belfour Player of the Game, presented by Belfour Property Restoration. Back here with 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden and CBS Sports college football writer Richard Johnson. B-Mac, there's really only one answer here, one correct answer for the Player of the Game, and it's a tight end for Penn State. His name is?
Tyler Warren. Let's give Tyler some love. Deserving. So you talk about having a day.
Having a day, kid.
Ooh, he had a month. 21 targets. Number one, I've never seen with my eyes a collegiate tight end in one ball game get 21 targets. That should tell you all you need to know about Tyler and what type of player he is and how they value him. But that was his today, the stat line for today. 21 targets, 17 receptions. Oh, by the way, over 200 yards, 224 yards to be exact. Big time receiving touchdown. Hakeem, you said he threw a pass also,
He
right?
did.
So he can play quarterback as well.
Yeah, he did everything. He ran the ball. He caught the ball, of course.
And he threw the ball.
Yeah.
All significant plays in a day in which they needed every positive yard he was able to get for his said offense, he came into this ball game already known as an NFL prospect.
Yep,
but he left today's ball game as probably the #1 tight end prospect in the NFL as he gets ready for that opportunity. But he still has business to take care of right now with Penn State. He is my player of the day, probably my player of the week. He didn't have a game. He had 2 or 3 games when you look at what he did collectively. So shots out to Tyler Warren and shots out to Drew Aller, getting him the targets and getting him the football.
The last time we saw something like this was 42 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, every week we are seeing history, like something we haven't seen in decades. Like that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, Tyler Warren was incredible today. I mean, James Franklin has talked about how he's the best tight end in the country, and that was before the season started, and obviously you're seeing why here. But
who are you going to go with?
I'm going to
give us another player.
I'm going to be unique. I'm going to go a different direction. Give me USC's Woody Marks. USC's Woody Marks absolutely paced the Trojans in this game. Ends up with over 100 yards rushing for the Trojans. Helped them battle back and try to at least push this game to overtime. He was doing everything with the ball in his hands. I didn't really think Miller Moss played that spectacularly in this game, but thankfully they had Marks to lean on offense.
All right, when you look at this game as big picture, BMAC, what does this win mean for Penn State? Because again, they were sort of looked at. They lost their last 3 road games as a top 5 team, all by 5 points or less. They couldn't close the door on the road in these big spots. They finally figure it out, especially in the second half, because they looked terrible in the first half.
And that's the thing I love about this game. Yes, it was a up and down affair, and I think for most Penn State fans, they rather not be in these scenarios because it's not good for their blood pressure. But sometimes these games are needed to really so you can see exactly what type of ball club you have in moments where you're playing good on good and you're playing against a very, very talented team, but they dropped the ball when it came to meeting expectations, so they were desperate. So for me, seeing what they can do, Penn State, when they were hit with a jab, a uppercut, a body blow, can they bounce back, or will they just lay on the canvas? They never fell down. They stumbled, but they gathered their balance. They were able to swing back. So when you look at Penn State moving forward, because we talked about this, in years past, these would be the moments, the games where they would find a way to lose. But now they're finding ways to win. When I played with the Steelers, legendary defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau, he used to tell us all the time, good teams will find a way to lose. Good teams will find a way to win. Bad teams will find a way to lose. In today's outing, Penn State, they found a way to win. And now you got to put some respect on their name, because we've seen Penn State and James Franklin in years past. They lose the game. You're like, wow, how did that happen? Today, they showed all of us we're a different team with a different mindset, and we can find ways to win.
For me, with USC, turnovers, again, the story, a small subplot. USC turns the ball over 3 times in the first half against Wisconsin. They get away with it. They were close against Minnesota last week. What was the difference? What's 2 Miller Moss picks? And one of them was his fault. One of them wasn't. In this game, he sails a throw late. It's an interception. And look, it looked like they were about to drive and, quite frankly, kick the game-winning field goal. But they were unable to do that. It goes to overtime, and Penn State gets the victory. So for me, USC, it's fine margins this season for them, man. It's fine margins. The Michigan game, close, but they can't get Khalil Mullings on the ground, and they lose. That's the difference for me this season with USC. You thought they were going to be able to take the step, but they're, again, just not able to cash in these close games, BMAC.
Rich, I'm glad you talked about SC, because we talked about Penn State and how they were able to win this ball game. But let's talk about the coaching malpractice that we saw from SC. What was the halftime score, Hakeem?
20-6.
20-6. So it's safe to say USC led for the majority of this ball game, right?
Facts.
With that being said, I have the box score in front of me. Get this. Penn State, they were fighting from behind mostly the majority of this ball game. Why is it that they have more rushing attempts than SC? You talked about Woody Marks and what he did. No question, they lean on Woody Marks. But when you look at SC and finding a way to close this ball game out, yes, defensively you had some issues, but run the football. Penn State had a total of 29 rushes. SC had a total of 23 rushes. Why is it that Penn State, they have more rushing attempts and they were fighting from behind? Woody Marks was averaging 6 yards per carry. my math tells me if he gets 2 carries, that's 12 yards. That's a first down, right?
It is.
Based on the numbers and the analytics, right?
That's true.
So why wouldn't you just give him the football? Come on.
Yeah.
Get out of your own way. You at halftime, 20-6. All the momentum is in your favor. Why are you throwing it around the yard?
We see this all the time. That's why you get so mad at the college coaches.
Exactly. Every weekend
so
we talk
mad at the
about
college
this.
coaches.
Every week it's about strategizing and making adjustments. When I play NCAA 25, if I'm running the football, you can't stop it, I'm not throwing it.
Man, what kind of DB are you talking about run the ball?
I want to win, Rich. I want to win. Because at some point in time, when you're playing against a team like Penn State, they're going to crank up that truck eventually. And they're going to start patting that foot, that gas, and they're going to get rolling. But you want to make sure you utilize and run positive plays while you're running the football. You're also working the clock. You have the time. You have time on your side. And no question, I say this every week, all the time about coaching errors, because we always talk about the players individually, what went wrong, what went right. What about the coaching method? Run the football.
Well,
coach.
I will say that James Franklin did a good job trusting Drew Aller, right?
Yes.
There's 4:30 to play in this game. They convert 2 fourth-down conversions on that drive that led to the touchdown. You know that he had a couple picks, and the last pick was a Hail Mary. So people that just see this box score and go, oh, he had 3 picks, he's not that good. He had 400 yards and basically 2 picks, and he leads into the game-tying touchdown. I know he didn't play great in the first half, but this kid also was the difference for them in the second half. And the fact that James Franklin trusted him, that says a lot, B-Mac, about the quarterback and the head coaching relationship, because you saw Drew Aller getting upset there late in the game. Hey, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. And you saw that. You saw that intensity in him.
And I love that because that shows leadership as well. You know, some quarterbacks are not vocal. When you play the quarterback position, it's a leadership position. Regardless of your personality or your character trait, you have to lead. And sometimes we need to verbally hear you lead. When things are not going right, I love when quarterbacks show emotions on the sideline. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it together, because it does something for the morale of the team. And this was a great litmus test for Drew Aller, because I saw a stat. This was his first road interception. Think about that. First road interception. So I would rather see his first road interception come in a game like today than in a playoff scenario where you're playing on the road, on campus situation where we've never seen before. Atmosphere is electric, and you don't really know how he's going to bounce back. Now we know how he's going to bounce back. Let's wait to see.
It's important, too, because Nick Singleton and Ketron Allen did not give them a ton on the ground. Drew Aller really had to put this game on his shoulder, and that has sort of been the big question, right? Drew Aller is, you know, the best Penn State quarterback since probably Christian Hackenberg, right? Very highly touted. Was supposed to be the savior of this program, particularly on offense. They have struggled on offense since Joe Moorhead left as the offensive coordinator. Now with Andy Kotelnick in this system that is so varied, so weird, so wonky, Drew Aller is at the controls, and he is playing really well. This is a really, really good game for him. Now, obviously, all the targets are pretty much going to one guy, but hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. All right, so from one quarterback with an Ohio connection to another quarterback with an Ohio connection.